Hello, I'm Dr. Adson, the Academic Head for OET at IRS Group. Today we are going to discuss about the writing subtest in OET. The duration of the test is 45 minutes, in which during the first 5 minutes you will be receiving the question paper, that is the file summary of a patient, to read, to analyze and to prepare yourself for writing a letter. Now you have got remaining 40 minutes to write a letter, and that depends upon your question paper, in which you have two parts of information. The first one, as I told earlier, is the file summary of a particular patient. And at the end of that, you have a box which is titled as writing task. Now, the writing task gives you a guideline or a guidance to what exactly you need to focus when you prepare, when you write the letter in OET. For example, if the writing task says that you need to address to a physiotherapist, then the information collected from the case note or file summary in the question paper should be adequately relevant for the recipient, that is the physiotherapist. Another thing is regarding the wise utilization of the writing period, that is 40 minutes. Now, most of the candidates tend to completely utilize this time period of 40 minutes just to write and complete the letter, and mostly tend to skip the process of proofreading, which is one of the most important thing in submitting an error-free letter. Now, what do we need to proofread in the letter which we have prepared against the specific question paper with the writing task? For that, we need to understand about the 5 criteria put forward by OET, which is used to evaluate every candidate's letter submitted in the exam. Now, we'll have a brief discussion about each of these criteria one by one. The first criteria is overall task fulfillment. Now, from the title itself, it's clearly understood what does it mean. That is, when a candidate prepares a letter in the exam, proofreads it and submits it, the candidate needs to make sure that the examiner or the person who is going to read this letter can clearly correlate with the specific requirement that is very well given as the writing task in the question paper. Appropriateness of language, the second criteria of the writing subtest, requires the candidate to present the information according to its importance. That means the most important information shall be presented in the first or second paragraphs, and in subsequent paragraphs the less important information shall be presented, and in overall the total letter should have a logical order or sequence of information which gives a clear picture to the recipient regarding your patient and patient's further requirements. Moving on to the third criteria, that is comprehension of stimulus. The stimulus in a writing subtest is the file summary combined with the writing task. Now, by combined reading of the writing task and the file summary, the candidate should be able to understand the clear picture of what is exactly required for the recipient and thereby in your letter. So comprehending means understanding the stimulus, that is the writing task, along with the file summary to produce an appropriate letter for your recipient in the question. Moving on to the fourth criteria, linguistic features. Linguistic features requirements in a writing letter includes having accurate grammar. Secondly, correct links between information, that is, as there will be scrambled information regarding the patient throughout the case note. The candidate should be able to identify the logical order, the sequence, and thereby correlate them and form sentences in the letter which are meaningful. And lastly, avoid a repetition of information which is already being presented in similar sentences or similar paragraphs the candidate already has written in the letter. Now let's see the last criteria in the writing subtest, that is presentation features. Now, the first impression is a best impression, we have heard it. Similarly, the presentation of a letter which includes somewhat the writing style of a candidate and the opening and closing paragraphs, sentences in the letter, accurate spelling, these all factors are counted or are calculated against the criteria of presentation features in the writing subtest, and it's important that candidates do check these 5 criteria while preparing their letter in the writing subtest, and also once they complete their writing, preferably at least 5 to 10 minutes before they submit their paper. Thereby, the candidate can provide an error-free letter in the writing subtest. Now, hearing these 5 criteria, candidates may tend to have a confusion that, so this means that, writing subtest is something very difficult or is a Herculean task. No, not at all. It's just that certain protocols we need to follow or practice so that we are able to handle the question, analyze it, and present a simple, a meaningful letter as required in the OET writing subtest. So I hope you have got a brief idea about the 5 criteria of the writing subtest and the general format of the examination. So stay tuned. We'll be up with more episodes of writing. Thank you.